Did you know that it can take up to 15 years to get fruit off of your fruit tree if you get the wrong type? Josh here. I've been growing fruit trees in the ground for 10 years and I've got hundreds planted. And one of the things that I learned early on is that there's a big difference between seedling grown trees and grafted varieties. We've also got some propagated varieties here. We'll talk about that as well, but we're going to look mainly at seedlings and grafted. Now, a grafted tree is something that has been grown on rootstock. And we talked about that a few days ago. Rootstock is grown for its specific disease resistance, for the height of the tree, and how quickly it bears fruit. And on top of that is grafted scion wood. And scion wood is what is the named variety. So, Granny Smith apple, any type of fruit tree where you would name it by the fruit is the scion wood. And actually that's genetically propagated so that it's the same exact tree handed down over generations. So you've got that scion wood grown for its specific fruiting varieties. And here's the best part about grafted trees. You're going to get fruit anywhere between 2 and 7 years based on the type of rootstock that it is. So if it's a dwarf tree, you might get 2 to 3, semi-dwarf 4 to 5, maybe 6, and then standard trees probably in that 5 to 7 range. But all of those are relatively quick when you compare them to seedlings. So seedling grown trees, which we've got a few here, we've got this Nanking bush cherry, which I actually grew from seed, along with this Asian persimmon, and then lastly this pawpaw that I got that I know is grown from seed, it's not grafted. All of these are going to take a long time to bear fruit. In fact, it can take between 7 and 15 years to bear fruit when you grow from a seedling. So a lot of people are like, oh, buy that fruit from the grocery store, save the seed, grow the seed. You're going to have your own fruit tree. You might get a fruit off of that tree, but it's going to take you 15 years to get that fruit. And that's a long time when you can get fruit off of a grafted tree between 2 and 7 years. All right, now the third thing that we're going to look at today are propagated. And this is probably grown from a cutting that was rooted in soil. In fact, I know it is because I know the guy that grew this. And so basically that's where you would cut off a limb or a branch from the tree, put it in some rooting hormone, and then stick it in soil, and it's going to form roots based off of that branch. Now remember, that branch is already older, so these can fruit just as quickly as grafted trees. It's just they're grown on their own rootstock. So when you're thinking about grafted, seedling, or propagated trees, I personally would avoid seedlings unless you're really patient and unless you're trying to save a ton of money, because seedlings are a lot lower cost, but you're going to pay for that in the amount of time it's going to take. Another thing about seedlings to understand is that every seedling is genetically different. And that's how we actually come up with different varieties. So this seedling is going to be a mix of 2 different trees, a male and a female tree, and it's completely a unique tree. In fact, there's no other genetic matching tree to this tree right here because it has its own parents, its own genetic DNA. Whereas this grafted variety, it'll be the same exact genetic DNA for that scion wood. So what that means is when you save that fruit from that fruit in the grocery store, it may not turn out like the fruit that you bought. It may not even be the same color, the same flavor. And oftentimes what you find is seedling grown trees are highly variable in the outcome that you get down the road many years from now. So not only are you risking time, you're risking, is this even going to be good tasting fruit to begin with? So all that to say, I'm not against growing seedlings. I've obviously got some that I'm growing myself, but you don't know what you're going to get. And if you're willing to wait, you can get some good fruit out of it, possibly, but who wants to do that? All right, I hope this lesson was valuable to you. If you want to learn more, continue to follow me on this 20-day challenge where I'm going over all the foundational knowledge to get your first home orchard started. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson.